All right. Hey, Discover Church family and all the YouTube, Rumble world, X and Facebook. We're on every platform. We have our friend Ashton Forbes back. He's the man that's really sought after right now because I've been away from the States for 1 week and UFOs have invaded. What do you think? What's happened?
Pastor Steve, first of all, thank you so much for having me back on your show. We had an awesome conversation last time, and thank you for all your followers for listening in intently. Everything has gone wild in this last week. We got the alien invasion is coming, everybody.
Yeah.
There's a narrative that I've seen absolutely out there, and for the people out there that believe strongly in aliens, there's nothing wrong with that. I think that if God created humans, God can create aliens as well. But I would say we need to pump the brakes on those conclusions until we actually have some strong evidence. Just because we see stuff flying around that is difficult for us to explain doesn't necessarily mean that it's little green men from another planet. What I've been doing for the last year is researching the technology that the government and the non-government organizations, the NGOs, have been developing. And what I realized is it's extremely advanced. So what we've got going on with this drone situation right now, I think that what we can say for sure is that the United States government knows what these drones are. They know where they're coming from. President Trump even said this yesterday in one of his, I don't know if it was a press conference, but in a speech that he was doing where he was asked about it. And we have surveillance technology that would be able
Hey,
to see them no matter where they are.
tell me, because the last time I heard, Trump said, shoot him out of the sky. So everybody
Yeah.
knows. Now he changed his tune yesterday.
Well, he didn't necessarily change his tune. He said, the United States military, United States government knows exactly what they are. They know where they came from. And then he was asked in terms of like, was he briefed on it? And he kind of dodged that question. Also, just today, there was a congressional classified briefing about the drones. So if nothing was going on, you wouldn't be having classified briefings with Congress and potentially the Senate Intelligence Committee, which I think is happening in the next couple of days. So something is happening. And the question is, we have to figure out what it is.
All right, so let's give the audience a little background here. We have an international audience, so
Okay.
things going on in New Jersey might not be something that they know. On November 18, from November 18, the main source of news for us in America now is X, Elon Musk X. People started posting videos about these mysterious flying objects. They didn't know what it was. And of course, some people, they're just going to post anything. They're going to post a helicopter, a regular drone. But there are some videos that are inexplicable. What is this thing? Some people claim they don't even have blades. They're just floating around like anti-gravity objects. Some of
Yep.
them show blades. So that's why we have you on. Now, Biden was silent about this. And then the rumors, I call it the distraction. The distraction comes in and they start saying it's Iran, it's Iranian drones. If it's Iran, they're going to start dropping bombs on us. It's too late already. So I've got some scriptures why I think this is interesting, but I want you to show us the latest video, the best video that you can show us. And let's take a look at this for audiences that don't know what it's about.
Yep. So most of the videos that I've seen have actually just been clearly misidentified airplanes or other terrestrial objects that people have seen out there. But that doesn't mean that all of them are. So a lot of people say, oh, there's this mass hysteria. There's clearly mass hysteria going on. I don't think anybody can really refute that. But at the same time, there does seem to be something real that's actually going on here. So this video that I found, if you want to pull this up,
Yep.
I found this video yesterday on social media, and this video was taken by somebody who was flying from Chicago to Newark, and they put this video online right after they landed. And I'm going to mute it just because there's no relevant sound that you need to hear, but you can clearly see three luminous objects. You see them in a triangle formation right there, and then over to the right, you see another three luminous objects. Now, I've flown about 2 million miles. You probably fly a lot as well, Pastor Steve. I've never seen airplanes that look like that in my window. And this can't be misidentified as a planet or a star because you can actually see the angle of incidence is downward in these cases. This was another light that this person saw in the sky before they were going to land in Newark as well. And when you look at videos like this is pretty compelling because I don't think that a lot of conventional drones have massive glowing lights on them. Now, maybe they could tie some lights to them, possibly. But one of the phenomenon that we've seen in the UFO community a lot recently in the last 5 to 10 years have been glowing orbs. And everybody's been wondering what are these glowing orbs that everybody's seeing out there? What I've concluded, if these things are real and they really are out there floating around, we're looking at a plasma orb, a sphere of plasma that's self-contained, doesn't have like a metal, it doesn't have a glass or a metal thing around it. It's actually just able to be self-organizing into a sphere, and it has natural, what we would consider anti-gravity type properties. And then people may ask, well, is there somebody inside that light we see right there? Is there someone inside that? And I would argue no, that what we're actually looking at here is some type of automated or we would say drone-like capabilities where they can actually put a small mechanical device inside one of these spheres of plasma, and then we can use quantum communication systems that would allow us to communicate through the plasma to operate it and control it around, where normally radio frequencies would not be able to penetrate plasma. So my interpretation of what has been going on here is, if the video that I just showed you, that's from last night, right before this recording, if that's real, then I would say, like you said, this is in Iran. This is not one of our adversaries. We would never let something like this float around. I would even argue that if it was aliens, we wouldn't let them float around over our country either. I mean, I saw the movie Independence Day. It doesn't go well for us. So to me, this is terrestrial technology that either our military, our intelligence community, or the private military contractors have access to. And it would explain then why the government's coming out and saying, we can't tell you what it is, but don't worry about it, because they know what it is. They know that it's aligned with us, but they can't admit to exactly what it is because it would expose technology that, in their opinion, the world is possibly not ready for at this time.
Right. Okay. So the first thing is I agree with you. I think that this is something terrestrial, something originating from the earth, from the government, or some what would you say? Would private companies be able to get away with testing something like this?
I think they might. I think they might. My sources and people that I talk to really, they talk about the deep state, and this is one of the term that I was really liked a lot a year ago. But the more I've learned about the people that have access to this technology, it's a combination of really connected politicians, very high level military members who are in the know or have been exposed to the technology, and then also just extremely rich elite level people who are connected to like some of these black project engineers that work on it. And I do think that there could be a reason for why they would test this technology. In 2011, we took a spy drone called an RQ-170, and we flew it over Iran. And Iran hacked it, and they landed it, and they reverse engineered that spy drone and made their own version of it. So if you were testing some advanced technology, you would not want to risk that again. You wouldn't want to have it tested out over adversarial area where they could find it and reverse engineer it. So it would make sense in that case to test it over our own country where, we don't have to worry about those issues.
That's very interesting. Okay, so it's a bad idea to test your best technology in foreign soil. I think that's a lot of sense. Let me read to you Luke 21 for everyone to hear. The Bible is amazing in its predictions, and it says that there's going to be stuff going on in the end time that's concerning outer space, concerning the sky, and it's going to come down. Like the language is really clear. Like something is coming down and is going to strike fear in the hearts of people. I don't know any religious book, any philosophical book that talks about this stuff in this way. So precise. These are actually the words of Jesus. In Luke 21, in verse 25 of chapter 21, the Lord says, "There will be signs in the sun, in the moon, and in the stars. And on the earth, distress of nations." We look at Syria imploding or exploding, with perplexity, the sea and the waves roaring. Verse 26, men's hearts failing them for fear, for the expectation of those things which are coming down on the earth, coming on the earth. For the powers of heaven will be shaken. Then they will see the Son of Man coming in a cloud with power and great glory. Now, so what do we do? Verse 28, now when these things begin to happen, so there's a whole process. This is not like a one-time event. This is not one alien landing or something like that. When these things begin to happen, look up. That's our show. We always call our show Look Up. We're on TV, we're on YouTube. Look up and lift up your heads, because your redemption, if you know Jesus, your redemption draws near. So we've got something that for 5,000 years everybody rides horses and mules and donkeys. Nobody's flying. Suddenly, for the past 100 years, we're flying. Now we're getting into advanced propulsion. And I think you might want to explain a little bit about, when we say the words advanced propulsion, what kind of stuff is like admitted and what kind of stuff seems to almost be pushing the boundaries of fiction. Where are we at with advanced propulsion?
Yeah, I think we've already hit Star Trek age, at least these deep state, connected, covert administrative elite people that have this technology. I think they've already hit Star Trek level, and it's a national security issue. Is that the technology is so far beyond the public's paradigm right now for us to accept that it's an ontological issue where people actually have struggle with accepting what this technology existing means for our place in the universe, which is why I like the biblical scripture that you just put out
Mm,
there. And I would
mhm,
pose maybe a little twist on it.
mhm.
There is an asteroid, Apophis, that is supposed to come closer.
2029, yeah,
Yeah, exactly. Closer
yes.
than any other asteroid has ever come to the Earth, at least within the modern era. So close that it actually comes between our geostationary satellites and the planet Earth, cuts between them. And if they're off by a certain percentage, then this thing is barreling right into us. And there was a movie called Don't Look Up, where the whole point was to not look up for these
Mm,
asteroids. But here's the beauty of it. This technology has the ability to wipe out those asteroids and make them non a threat to us at all. And this could be what we're supposed to see, is we're supposed to see that this technology exists and that these threats that are coming from outer space, this could be our salvation or it could be our destruction at the same time. My personal belief is that, well, let me explain what the technology is. There was a man named Ken Shoulders who was an absolute genius engineer. He was basically the father of microelectronics. He was building microelectronics decades before the public was working on it. Also, one of the pioneers on drone technology. And he discovered that he called them cold plasmas, exotic vacuum objects. He
mhm,
discovered that plasma, under the right conditions, will self organize in a way that is almost lifelike. You can see videos of plasma in outer space in zero Gs, and you can see these self-organizing properties where they form these shapes, including double helix formations as well, which is very insightful. And also, he found that these plasmas, they didn't dissipate; they would stay self-organizing and self-perpetuating, self-sustaining. And so he called them exotic vacuum objects because he believed they must be pulling energy from space-time all around us somehow. But the crazy part about these plasma orbs, that I'm going to call them, is their capability to store a huge amount of electrical charge, far more than any material that we could come up with, because plasma is basically an amorphous blob of electrons that have been ripped off of the molecules, leaving behind an ion. And there's been several papers that have been written about how you would stabilize a ball of plasma that can just float freely by the Air Force Research Lab, one by Jack Nachamkin in 1992, where he believed you could make a vortex within the ball of plasma and it would stabilize it. And another one by Eric Davis when he did a ball lightning study. So you may hear these things called EVOs, exotic vacuum objects. You may hear them called ball lightning. You may hear them be called plasmoids. They're all the same thing. This is the technology that they've done a great job of blinding us to. And instead, they're slow dripping out this technology where you see this huge level of advancement that we have had over the last 100 years, but they're keeping the good stuff in the back. Where if we have these types of plasmas capability, this is where Dr. Salvatore Pais, he has these UFO patents. I spoke to him several times and I asked him, do you believe humanity could have figured this out? And he said, yes, absolutely. And he has these patents with the Navy. And essentially what he's saying is if you jam these plasma orbs together with their huge amount of electrical charge that they have, it's like jamming magnets together. And it increases the energy density exponentially until you hit the ceiling of our reality. And when you do that, you're producing what we would think of in science fiction as a wormhole, an actual wormhole. And now that's amazing, of course. But the part that's scary is that I've also asked him privately, can we make a black hole out of this? Like something that is just a doomsday weapon, more powerful, not even really comparable to nuclear weapons at that point, because you're talking about something where within an instant it's all over. Like maybe even destroy our entire solar system, maybe even create our own Big Bang. If people believe in that, I actually am kind of out on the Big Bang theory at the moment.
Well, me too.
So this is the part where we really have to contextualize how important it is. And that's why I love having these conversations, because I truthfully think that the only way we make it through this next paradigm shift, this technological revolution or singularity that's coming, is if we have these conversations about the risks of this technology so that our collective conscious can rise up so that we can be responsible with it, because we have the capability with this technology to create a Garden of Eden on Earth, a true utopia. But we also have the capability, if it's misused by evil actors, to wipe out our entire civilization.
Well, there's a saying that man has not invented a weapon that he's not used. So if he invents it, it's going to be end up being used in some kind of a war. And that is unfortunate. Now, for the people who are listening to this and you're scared, I do have some assurance from the scriptures for you. God has said very specifically, he's allowed man to destroy itself, but he's not allowed man to destroy heaven or the entire universe or the solar system. But man is edging in towards the powers and the interdimensionality of God. We're at the end of an age where the Lord is going to come back and reveal so much. I mean, there's going to be this whole idea of 0 point energy, cold fusion, all of this. It's going to be like normal stuff when the Lord comes back, because we have an abundance. But unfortunately, abundance doesn't make people better usually. That's the trouble. People don't seem to, when they get more power, even a little bit more money is like a kind of more power. It's such an insignificant increase in power, and people just become tyrants and dictators and become evil. Hey, so let's talk about the motive of this. Okay, so we're not sure the technology. We can speculate. There's a lot of things going on that real scientists are dealing with now. It's people need, at this point, they know that there are limitations to our technology, and they want to create faster moving objects that might penetrate through matter. These are things people might not know if you're not in keeping up with physics. People are looking into this. But right now, what people are concerned with is this a friend or a foe? Is the government trying to control us, hurt us, or are they trying to protect us from something?
Great question. And one thing I want to say too, before I dig into the friend or foe thing, is that a lot of people have been speculating that these balls of plasma, these ball lightning, might be conscious. And it actually, when you look at those images, like I was showing the video earlier, of these just balls of light, it, to me at least, conjures the idea of angels and interdimensionality. And if these things can be conscious beings, it does kind of open the door to this might having some kind of divine connection to our history and our future at the same time. With respect to, are these adversarial or not, the drones that people are seeing? Like you said early on, if these were adversarial, I think we would have had to shoot them down. They could have bombs on them, warheads on them. They could be a risk. Like a horrible terrorist attack would be if these drones just start flying into people or using some kind of weapons on people in the suburbs or what have you. So I think that we have to rule out adversarial technology in this case. The response doesn't make any sense.
Right.
As to, so that then just leaves they are either us or allied with us, meaning, private military contractors, the government may not know what the private military contractors are doing and might run cover for them if they are using some technology that the government's not willing to reveal to us. Some of the theories that I've seen out there is that there is a dirty bomb and they're scanning for it. Other theories are that they are, just like searching for different stuff that's out there. I think I posted a theory that perhaps it's a defense network. Putin has talked a lot about hypersonic missiles, and Iran have said that they have some weapon that's more powerful than nuclear weapons. Well, in the case of hypersonic missiles that are extremely fast, you don't have a second to spare. So in that case, you would want to have your defense network out there on standby, ready to go. So at the very moment our cyber system picks up the ICBM launch, we can already deploy our countermeasures to annihilate the weapon, or to, if we have teleportation technology, to teleport it back onto our adversary. The other theories, I mean, there's a lot of different stuff that's out there. Some people are saying that it's, aliens coming to say hi or checking us out. I'm trying to think of what some of the other options were, but I think those are the primary ones right now. The problem I have with the scanning for nuclear or biohazardous material is that I don't think we would need drones in the sky to do that. I believe that our surveillance capabilities from satellites or ground-based systems would be able to pick up those types of things. And even without that, we could just drive like a van around and look for it and detect it as well. So it could be that. I'm not here to tell you guys that I know what is going on with it. I just think that a lot of people are looking for answers and we're not really getting them. And so this is causing everybody to just kind of speculate. Oh, one of the other ones was that it was an Iranian mothership off the coast dropping drones off, which it seems absurd to me because, I mean, what is an Iranian mothership and why would we take no action? So I don't know. There's not a lot of things that make a huge amount of sense.
Yeah. If I match this up with, I'm going to try to match it up with another scripture that I believe gives us a timeline of where we're at. And this is the most concerning thing for me. It's, it's almost fun just to speculate about technology and aliens, but the reality is we're in a timeline of war, and a lot of the Christians and conservatives, they're like in ecstasy right now. Trump's won, and he's going to broker peace. And according to the Bible timeline, the prophecy is that right now, after COVID, the next thing that would happen would be a just all-out war. And we're seeing that taking place in, of course, Ukraine has been a mess. Syria is, nobody's in charge of Syria. It's much worse than I think they're letting us know in the media. Assad's given up his kingdom and gone to Russia. But the thing is, all of this is very far away. And my concern is that in prophecy, there's going to be an attack on the homeland that will dwarf 9/11. That's like unthinkable for most Americans. Americans are, live in such comfort and like in a protected bubble. And if these drones have something to do with that searching of a dirty bomb or searching for some weapons, then that kind of matches the timeline. And I'm just waiting for more evidence about that. But yeah, what do you
No,
think?
absolutely. I think that the idea of there being a false flag or black swan event is also important. Like, how would we be able to tell if it was our adversary that detonated a bomb or if we did it to ourselves? The government loves to go to war, and everybody's been talking about them trying to force a war with Iran, which I'm very hesitant. I don't want to get into a war with Iran, but it could be a possibility. It could also be that the people that have this technology are afraid of the incoming president, and that Trump has been, he's already appointed brand new people to all these intelligence roles. And if you are trying to compartmentalize this information, especially about technology that is national security, you don't want more people to find out about it, because they may not have the same opinion that you had about keeping it secret from the American people. And if they were to expose the types of evil acts that we've done with this technology, then in that situation, the public might find out that, oh, we've been doing some horrible stuff and we don't feel like this was warranted or justified just under the excuse of national security. So I do worry about those types of events happening. And it's another reason why the federal government intelligence communities need to tell us exactly what's going on with these drones, because without that information, everybody's going to be coming up with various narratives of their own. And they need to give us some evidence too, because frankly, I don't trust the intelligence community. It's telling me what it is at this point.
Mm.
I think the only way we're going to get to the real truth of this is if we were to get given some high quality military or intelligence grade footage. And if you guys watch the UFO hearing, if you're into that kind of stuff, it was admitted that we do have full motion color satellite video of UFOs, and that there's a database out there that has hundreds, if not thousands, of videos that the government just doesn't want to show the public for whatever reasons. So that answer your questions?
Yeah, and just to we'll wrap it up on Iran for a second. It's very bad to corner your adversary to the point of they have no way out. I don't think people realize that the fall of Syria is catastrophic for Iran. Like, their influence in that region has collapsed, and it means their main adversary, Turkey. People don't know that Turkey and Iran, and then Saudi and Iran, they know, but Turkey and Iran are adversaries. Turkey has taken a real strong foothold in the Middle East through this collapse. And Bible prophecy says that in the end, the person that's known as the Antichrist is going to rise up from an Islamic nation, which is going to be either historically the region of Turkey or Syria. And it's amazing how now Turkey and Syria have just almost become one unit. Like, Turkey is going to be calling the shots in Syria. And they've put out a statement: don't anyone dare to try to displace the next government that's going to come into power in Syria, because they're endorsing that government. So you got these pieces of end time prophecy now coalescing, Turkey and Syria. The Antichrist, I believe, a lot of debates on that. I'm not going to debate. I'm just going to say it so people can look it up. But that's it. You're looking at Turkey and Syria as the epicenter of the next great world deceiver. And Iran is cornered. And Iran's Shia. The rest of them are Sunni mainly. So Iran might do something really desperate. And these drones it may end up being a test, right? I mean, whether it's our test or their test, the thing is, they need to see how the public is responding. And I think that makes the most sense, is how is our response? And if people just go about their day watching Netflix and drinking their beer and not caring, then they really have achieved total mind control, because these things are really concerning.
Yeah, that's what my friend Professor Simon Holland and I were talking about actually this weekend, was that really, if you boil it down, it's like a psychological operation. It's to see the response. So even if it is adversarial or not, you could make that same argument, as they're trying to see, how are we going to respond? How are people's psychological states? How does the local authorities respond? What are their detection capabilities of detecting these types of crafts if they are advanced and have some sort of stealth capability and things like that? Absolutely can believe it. And that could even fit into some of the other narratives of, like, false flag or some type of black swan event that might happen as well. So the only thing I think we can do is we can be vigilant. To your point about Syria, Iran, there is more going on there than what I think is being reported on in the media. Syria just fell overnight from the perspective of the Western media. Iran had their president mysteriously die in a helicopter crash just 6 months ago, along with one of the key governors. And so there's a lot of destabilization that seems to be happening there. And I agree, we should be very careful about backing someone into a corner, especially when they're making public proclamations that they have weapons that are more powerful than nukes that they could deploy.
Yeah. Hey, let's let's show. I've got a couple of videos, and let's see how authentic they are.
Sure.
One looks really weird. That one, yeah, that one like splits up. Let's show that one.
Oh, I don't think I've seen this one. Interesting. For me, I mean, that's pretty unusual. What I
And
look
then,
for is anytime I see FAA regulation lights, I pretty much just default to it being an airplane. A lot of people say that these UFOs might be able to mimic our capabilities. I'm not sure about that. I haven't seen strong evidence, but I keep open-minded about anything. Now, this one I would say has got to be an airplane, just because of the light situation going on there as well. And you can kind of tell that it's going through the trees underneath somebody. So the problem is really just that when you're using, cell phone videos, these are very powerful devices that we have here. Absolutely. But there's a reason why the military records in infrared and in thermal, because you get a lot more information, especially at nighttime. And this isn't to say that everything that people are saying out there is fake or has a simple prosaic explanation. But I think that we've reached a point now where there's something going on. Everybody wants to get out there and see it. And so a lot of this stuff I do think has terrestrial explanations. The things, if you want to know, like, how do I look for something that I can tell if it's, a UFO or something that's anomalous, there's something called the 5 observables. And the 5 observables are these phenomenon associated with this UFO technology, which would be low visibility, meaning it's very hard to get a good picture of it in general. It might be because it's bright or it's luminous or something like that. Transmedium capabilities, if they're coming out of the water, going between different mediums. This has been reported on related to the New Jersey drone situation. Being able to change direction right on the fly, like making a 180-degree turn or 90-degree turn that normal conventional craft can't do. And also to achieve things like hypersonic speeds, where our hypersonic spy planes actually use plasma sheath in front of them. I don't know if people know this, but they actually use a plasma sheath in front of them. And this is what reduces the drag so that the planes don't rip apart. So these would be some of the examples that people should be looking for if you are out there trying to do some, UFO hunting and trying to see if something has an alternative explanation other than conventional propulsion.
yeah, that's a good tip. So what was the name of that plane that's already, is it like revealed? They admit they're using plasma shield ahead of the plane?
Yeah, it's been revealed. So it was actually all the way back to the SR-71, which was back in the 1960s. And this is why I
Oh,
tell
wow.
people, like, we've had this technology, I think, for a long time. The way that I think that it played out was that we realized that we make this plasma sheath and it reduces drag and actually improves propulsion. And I think that we realized that those properties are very, very similar to what we would call anti-gravity. And at some point, we realized, why have the spam in the can? Why have the person inside the plane when that's just a liability? When in fact, you can turn it into a drone. And then why have the plane at all? If the plasma is what's doing the heavy lifting, then get rid of the plane and now just put a little device inside your plasma and turn that plasma into a drone. And then you can remote control it with AI or quantum computer, supercomputer of some sort in a 3-dimensional environment. I have a really good clip. If you guys check out my Twitter at some point, if you're interested in that, by a Black project engineer by Paul Sis, who he wrote one of these defense intelligence reference documents. His scientific papers that were written for the Defense Intelligence Agency. And he explains how the plasma sheaths work. And it's just like very, very similar to the properties and effects that we have been reported on with ball lightning and exotic vacuum objects. So you can kind of look at the history and say, oh, okay, well, we started working on this in the 60s. We discovered these properties. And then by the time the 90s rolled around, now we're working on how do we turn this into a drone. And then by the early 2000s, now we've got, ball orbs of light that we can float around in remote control. And to the point about some people are probably thinking in their head, Project Bluebeam. I've heard Project Bluebeam, the alien invasion, like we were talking in the beginning. You could see how if you saw a bunch of orbs of light, especially in like a triangle formation floating around, most people are
Mm,
going to look at that and go, I'm looking at aliens.
mm,
And so this would actually allow the government to quite easily psyop us into
yeah.
believing that there's an alien invasion when they're just floating their remote control plasma orbs around in the sky that we just don't really know exist.
Right. So a great phrase about this is that I heard from the scientists is that this is not beyond our physics, it's just beyond our engineering. So
Perfect.
because we can't explain something right now, actually we have the physics, quantum mechanics explains this stuff, but we may not be aware of how to engineer it. So my message to our audience is don't be deceived. God invented all the technologies. He knows all the technologies. You go read the book of Ezekiel, you already got the orbs moving in 90-degree angles, up and down, side to side. It's all been described. The science was always there because God made the universe. So don't be deceived. When these things come and deceive many, the masses will be deceived. Remember, the Bible is confirmed. Prophecy has been confirmed, and look for him to be your salvation. Hey, I want to thank you for coming. And we had such a great comment from last video. I want all the people who watch this video, go back to the last video where we talked about MH370. I don't think YouTube liked it too much. So go back and look for the MH370. I literally found comments that said this was the best interview they had ever watched, not on our channel, like ever. It was so good. So please go and watch that video. And until next time, Ashton, stay safe, stay away from those orbs and military psyops, all right?
Thank you very much, Pastor Steve.
God bless.
You too. One
of the greatest deceptions that we believe is coming is when the devil tries to explain the disappearance of Christians. You know, the devil will blame everything that's going on in the world upon Christians, whereas the Bible says that the Lord Jesus will come and take us away. What will we do before that happens? We got to try to help people not to be deceived. One of our online church members had a vision, had a dream while she was in the hospital that the Lord gave her this picture and said, tell the people before it happens. And she put it on a t-shirt, and we worked with her to make this for our ministry. The t-shirt says, aliens didn't take us. Aliens didn't take us. Very attractive, very good. You can see people getting taken up there. It's not aliens that took us, it's Jesus who promised to take us. And in the back is 1 Thessalonians chapter 4, verses 16 to 18. The answer is, if aliens didn't take us, who did? Jesus says, I did. I did. So before that kind of deception comes and deceive the masses, I believe that this is one of the effective ways we can engage with the public. You know, right now they're really interested in the drones and what's coming out of the skies and what is it. This is such a great opportunity to evangelize. So we have a limited number of these t-shirts. Some are in Australia, some are in America. I would say less than 50 of these. So first come, first served. And if you're in America, go to discoverchurch.online/shop and you'll find these in various sizes. And if you go to Australia, you will find these at discover.org.au, and that will ship internationally. So if you're in other countries in Asia and Europe and Africa, go to discover.org.au and look at that message. Jesus says, I'm the one that came and did that. He's the creator and he predicted these things. But I believe there will be an alien incursion or some kind of deception that will deceive. The Bible says the deception is so great that even some of the elect will be deceived. Well, let's prepare the public for that, wearing a nice t-shirt like this. And by the way, I love soft t-shirts, so I guarantee you this is one of the softest materials. I don't like putting rough t-shirts on me. So it's a nice t-shirt, and it would be a great thing to wear in the new year, and try to engage people to tell them this is what the Bible says. We put our faith in not aliens, but in Jesus. He one day will take us from this wretched, cursed world that's going to be under judgment, as the book of Revelation predicts. Let's wear a positive message and say, hey, look up to Jesus. I'll see you in the next video. God bless.